welcome. If this is your introduction to my channel, welcome. My name is Kaya and today I'm going to be making a video that I guess is a little bit different. I've never made a video like this before on my channel, but it is quite an important and I guess a monumental stepping stone in my life from when I was quite young. So it's going to be a little bit of a story time, a little bit of, I guess, my life progression, if I can call it that. But it was something that I guess really shifted my perspective in terms of knowing and recognizing that you're always, I guess, in the right place exactly when you need to be. And I think believing that and having experienced the things that comes from that and the things that comes from just like trusting in yourself and your life has really helped me a lot in my life, especially during hard times, especially during last year when things were so uncertain and I kind of felt like I was making no progress. And I know a lot of you guys would be feeling the same. And looking back to my very first job, which was at McDonald's. I started at McDonald's when I was 14 years old. I think I remember distinctly because I was going on a trip to America with my dance group. And I remember distinctly like thinking to myself, oh, I really need a job. Like I really would like some money to go overseas with. Because at the time I was 13 and we were about to do like a dance trip around America. And we were having like all these fundraisers and I was like, well, I kind of want to get a job just to save like a little bit more money. I knew I didn't have any experience. I was 13 years old, just started high school. What did they pay back then? Like $7 an hour or something? Literally nothing. But I was on like $100 a week if I was lucky. $200 if it was a public holiday. But it was, yeah, that was my first job, McDonald's. I was working in the drive-thru, serving customers. I was working in the dining room. I remember distinctly cleaning up people's vomit from the bathroom. That was fun. Super normal. I remember like a lot of my friends at the time worked at McDonald's, and this particular McDonald's as well. Like we were all there together. Not that I loved working there necessarily, but I loved the environment and the people. I met so many different people there that I'm still in contact with them today and I still know how their lives are going and things like that. So in that way, quite a good job, and they did train me quite well to, I guess, go on with my life, go into the world, into the workforce. So that helped me quite a lot in terms of my professional development and I guess my work ethic and how I approach my work. But this video today is going to be how I went from working at McDonald's to interning for Vogue Australia, detailing how I broke into the fashion industry with literally no experience at all, how I went from working at McDonald's every Friday night of my 14-year-old life to a few years later entering the doors of Vogue Australia and interning there for about 4 months. So I want to, I guess, detail all of that for you, and I guess things that are really important to remember along the way as well, and things that I definitely learned from that experience as well. It's a little bit of a funny one because I'm sort of making this for my 14-year-old self. I remember every single weekend when I was working at McDonald's, I would come home and I would watch either The Devil Wears Prada or I would watch Gossip Girl, or Sex and the City was another one as well. I was so obsessed, I was so captivated by this idea of like working in fashion and working in the fashion industry, and I just looked up to these people so much. In a way, it was kind of disheartening because I didn't know like how I was going to start. I had no idea, you know, how I would even get a job in the fashion industry. And I remember at the time when I was, you know, distinctly when I was working in the drive-thru, I had a lot of conversations with this other guy that I worked with, and he was kind of on the same level as me in that he really wanted to work in the fashion industry as well. And I'd known him for a little bit of my life. I've known of him for a while, and we ended up working a lot of the same shifts together at Macca's. Macca's is what we call it in Australia, McDonald's. And we would often have conversations, you know, just laughing about different movies, about The Devil Wears Prada or various fashion references, and we would always you know, dream of one day interning or working for Vogue or some kind of fashion magazine. And that went on for a couple of years. And I remember after a couple of years, I eventually left my McDonald's job and I worked like a couple of other hospitality jobs, making coffees and working as a waitress and things like that. And I remember one day I was driving home from work. It was snowing, it was like a really cold winter's day, and I'd kind of stopped off to get petrol and heard my phone ding in my bag. And so I reached in to get my phone from my bag, and I had a message from this guy. And he was saying, you know, Kaija, I'm interning at the moment at GQ, which was a magazine that is in the same building as Vogue. He said, I heard Vogue are looking for interns, like they've just lost a bunch of their interns and they're looking for new ones. And he told me to email my CV to the fashion coordinator at the time. And so I did. I went home that night. The rest of my trip home in the car I was just so excited and like, what? How could this happen? Like, how could this happen to me? So I got my CV all together and I think I redid it because I only had like McDonald's and like a cafe on my CV. So I was like, well, I don't really have anything to show for myself, but all right, I'll send it through and just say, you know, I work really hard and just be honest about like my experience, I suppose. I sent my CV to this email address, this lady that was the fashion coordinator at the time at Vogue, and she emailed me back within like 15 minutes or so, and she said, come in for a trial day. We've got, you know, a couple of other people that are going to be starting on the same day, so you can all kind of do your trial together. We've got like a bunch of different jobs that we need to get done and things like that. And so I just remember never having been so excited for something in my life. And I couldn't believe that this guy that I met at Macca's, that we were talking about literally interning at Vogue or working at Vogue one day together, that it was actually happening. And I remember the first day I came in like super early. I remember they said, oh, come in for 9 a.m. I got there because I live about an hour away from the city, and I remember getting there at like 8:30, probably like a little bit earlier, and I just had my coffee and I was so nervous. I remember being so nervous and like watching everyone walk past. Everyone had like a special pass that they had to like enter into the building, and everyone just walking in their beautiful clothes and heels and suits and skirts, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm here. Like, how did this happen? And interning there, I remember, was doing like different things every single day. No day was ever the same in the office. We would accept like arrivals from different brands that they were doing for campaign shoots and things like that. I remember I woke up sometimes at like 4 a.m. to go into the city. I remember I drove one time, they were doing a shoot for the monthly edition, and it was like a summer edition, and they were doing a shoot in Palm Beach in Sydney, and the call time was like something ridiculous, like 5:30 or 6 a.m. and Palm Beach is like a bit over a 2-hour drive from my house. So I was up at like 3:30 in the morning. I drove to Palm Beach for this like 6 a.m. call time or 5:30 a.m. call time. I just remember getting there and I was still early. I'm pretty sure I was still early for this like ridiculous call time. And that was the first, because it was an unpaid internship, but I remember that day it was like a voluntary thing, and they said it was going to be paid. So this was my first paid working day for Vogue. I just couldn't believe it. I guess everything up until that point had led me to that point, and this guy that I worked with at McDonald's in my first job kind of led me to this point as well. And I think ever since that happened, like ever since that connection that they made at McDonald's when I was 14 helped me like years later down the line, when he knew, you know, I was passionate, I was interested, and I would work really hard. I just never forgot that, and that was such an important, I guess, stepping stone and milestone for me, because I learned so much at that internship, and it kind of led me to all these different other internships and jobs and experiences that have led me to where I am today. I'm like sitting here in Milan in my apartment with my Italian boyfriend, working for a fashion magazine in Milan, and it's like, sometimes I look back and I just think, wow, that was so surreal. I was like interning at Vogue when I was 17, I think I was 17, or I just turned 18, and I was interning at Vogue and just like admiring all these different people around me that were like art directors and market directors and like fashion editors and things like that, and I just admired them so much. And I remember like all these different things that we would do, like we would have to pack their suitcases, like the staff suitcases, if they were going for an overseas trip to New York or something, and all these people like the editor-in-chief and the fashion director, they would come in and they would have a look at all the clothes, and all the interns would just be like, oh, like, oh my god, it's so crazy. And yeah, I'll never forget that experience and just how much it taught me. And that kind of mentality, like the fact that you do meet everyone for a reason, and everything in your life kind of happens for a reason, that kind of has led me into the kind of mentality that I carry today, in that, especially in hard times, remembering that, you know, everything happens for a reason and you're in the exact right place in your life right now, and you just have to trust in, you know, everything that happens to you, because it's all happening within perfect timing. And I think thinking back to things like that when I was working at McDonald's, literally hating my job, I would just think about how I was feeling, and like in those conversations that I was having with this guy about working at Vogue and interning at Vogue, and even just talking about it, it made me so excited being able to talk to someone who was just as passionate as I was and had the same dreams and goals as I did. And that kind of put me on a different level energetically. And I know that sounds a bit weird, but it kind of made me feel like I was already living it when I was working at McDonald's, which sounds so strange. But looking back, I think that was my first experience with manifesting something in my life. And even though it came a few years later, I still felt like I had, you know, subconsciously asked for that to happen. It's kind of always been something that I've carried with me since that point in my life and since that experience, because it's something that I think really shaped my perspective and like how I think about certain things, and how I'm such a normal person, but everything kind of happens when it needs to happen, and just trusting that you're on the right path for your life and trusting that everything is going to happen in perfect timing has helped me so much, particularly during difficult times when things have been so uncertain. Like in 2020, when I felt like I was making no progress, I just reminded myself like everything is happening as and when it needs to happen, and just having trust in that and just having faith in that process has really helped me mentally get through hard times like that. But yeah, I don't know, I hope that video was interesting. I know it was a little bit random and probably not all of you are interested, but I think if you're interested in like manifesting and things like that, it could be interesting to some of you guys. Yeah, how I went from working at McDonald's in the drive-through to interning at Vogue, and where that's, I guess, led me to now. All these different experiences that I've had and jobs that I've had, and it's all shaped me and who I am and my mentality towards life and towards work now. So give this video a like if you liked it, and make sure to subscribe for new videos every single week. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys.